Hey guys, Buildzoid here. So I was reading the comments under the video about the 5090 that had what I suspect is a power stage failure. And there's this lovely comment over here accusing me of being extremely wrong about something. Now the thing is, I hate being wrong about things, which is why I read stuff about how things work. But anyway, we'll just read through this, and then I'll give you like, and then well, this video will end with a practical demonstration that I haven't tested in ahead of time, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But many of the things in this video are correct. At least a few of them are wrong, like 100% wrong. The one that pisses me off the most is the caps flying off the board when heated. No, that's bullshit. Not true. Never happened. Won't happen. Can't happen. I'm not. Actually, I'll probably get demonetized anyway, won't I? But whatever. Those caps have score marks on the top. When they are superheated and the insides begin to expand, the top cracks open, shooting hot capacitor goo out. They do not pop off. They do not swell up from the bottom. The top swells on them. How do I know? I have worked in electronics assembly for over 20 years, and evidently he's only ever manufactured low-end electronics because solid polymer capacitors don't have vents. And just for fun, thanks to a different comment under the same video, apparently Corsair figured out a way to get solid polymers to literally explode. As you can see, that casing doesn't look like it cracked open. That casing looks like it left the board. Um, so congrats to Corsair on figuring out how to make that happen. But also, like, I looked up some images of the capacitor plague, and like, yeah, if you have this style of capacitor, yeah, these have scoring marks in the tops of them, like you can see here, and the vents open up. Though apparently this one seems to have had the casing popped off, or somebody pulled the casing off. I don't know, right? Um, Apparently this also has venting. This is I believe, a hybrid capacitor, so a mix of polymer and liquid electrolyte. Um, and yeah, so this still has scoring marks in it, though they're really not very obvious to see. But then, for comparison, I found this photo of like a polymer capacitor, solid polymer, and this just cracked open, which I'm honestly kind of surprised to see that. This one also looks like it's about to crack open. But yeah, these shouldn't have vents as far as I know. So this looks like the casing just managed to crack instead of blowing off the top. I mean, like pulling away from the board. But anyway, instead of discussing photos of blown up capacitors, here I have one sacrificial GPU. I mean, it's not actually a GPU anymore, as you can probably tell. The GPU part of it is missing. It's sacrificial board. I have a lot of dead GPUs, mostly because I use them for spare parts. And so I figured, let's just roast the crap out of a capacitor and see what happens. I have hot air set up. I believe it is set to 300 degrees Celsius, which is a bit low. Normally, if I'm trying to pull a MOSFET, I'll have it set to like 360 or something. So I've just cranked that to 360, and we will cook one of these two polymers down here. These are output filtering, 2.5 volts. I'm not sure if you'll be able to read them, but yeah, output filtering capacitors, 820 microfarad, 2.5 volts. Should be rated for 105 degrees Celsius for, I think, like 2,000 hours or something. And we're just going to hit them with 360. And I expect them to initially swell up, and then eventually blow off. Like, realistically, how this would usually happen is, like, you're cooking the MOSFETs from this side, and then the capacitor gets overheated. I don't like doing this. This is so stupid. Also, this board is cold. This is not a very realistic scenario of how I would expect this to happen. Because, like, you don't intentionally try to fry one of these like this, but... I should have not used the nozzle. Oh, and you guys can't see anything. Okay, I'll stay here. I'll just rest it on the board. Okay, I think... Man, this capacitor's a lot more... Well, I don't know what temperature it's at. This is taking longer than I thought it would. Come on. I thought I'd managed to hold the mic for long enough that the capacitor would pop off before I need to let go of it, but, Kinda tempted to crank the temperature. You know what? Yeah, I'll just set it to 400. Which I do occasionally use, but I usually try to be a bit more gentle when pulling MOSFETs. What? Oh, come on. Hot air station freaked out for some reason. I was honestly expecting it to swell up at this point. This is one tough capacitor. Yeah, the hot air is hot, so... I mean, it's also not venting, but that's not... Oh, there we go. Oh. Oh, boy. Yeah, okay, that went a lot... Man, that scared me. That looked like it's doing nothing. Oh, man, it smells like burnt capacitor. I need to open a window. Oh boy, I did not expect that to be that dramatic. And unfortunately, I lost my safety glasses, so... yeah, oh boy, that smells bad. Please don't cook your capacitors. It's not good to do that. Generally speaking, if you actually want to desolder one of these from a board, what you should do is flip the board over, heat the PCB. So... If I wanted to take, say this capacitor, well, we cooked this one, so if I wanted to take this one off, right, what I would do is I would heat the board with the hot air, and then come in with the soldering iron, and hit both legs at the same time. And the reason I would do that, is basically one of the issues you run into with GPUs is that the PCBs have very large amounts of copper in them. So if you just try to put the soldering iron up against the capacitor legs, what'll happen is you'll heat the capacitor, but you won't heat the board. So the capacitor will get very hot, but the board will still be relatively cold, and so the solder, especially on the other side of the board, won't melt. So yeah, that's really not effective in my experience. So when I do like capacitor desoldering, I usually have the hot air set to like 300 degrees, the soldering iron set to also like 300 degrees, and the hot air is just like gently heating up the area while I desolder the capacitor with the soldering iron. And you just try to like wiggle the legs back and forth and get it to drop out of the board. But yeah, so as I've just clearly demonstrated, if you cook one of these, they literally shoot off of the board. They do that. I mean, I guess we could do a second one, though I'm honestly kind of a bit shaken. I am a coward. So anyway, yeah, because that went, because it looked like nothing was happening, and then it just went. Anyway, let's do its buddy next door. Oh, I guess you know what? I'll pull off remains of the busted one, and then we'll do the other one. Because I don't want to cook the internals a second time. Also, I can't touch this board because it's hot, probably. Actually, not that hot. Okay, so that's the... Because I don't feel like roasting what's left of that capacitor a second time. Oh, well, come on, let's get the seal off. I don't feel like melting rubber. Okay, so that's gone now. Let's get the other one. Man, I'm like really glad the board is pointing away from me. And I've literally done this by accident. That's why, like, I know that this can happen. Except, like, I'd be trying to take the MOSFETs off, right? Not intentionally blasting the capacitor with all the hot air's got. I don't know... Oh, I can see the casing. It's on the floor behind the desk. So evidently they don't always puff up. Sometimes they literally just shoot off the board. There's like a video from Northwest Repair where he has a board where somebody like stole all the GPU and the memory chips. And if I remember correctly, he has like that board ends up having a bunch of puffed up capacitors. Because evidently when they were doing the desoldering of all the expensive components, they didn't care about keeping the capacitors healthy. This is such a stupid idea. Man, why does it take so long? I hate how there's no tell. Come on, yeet already. We've got to go soon, right? Oh. Okay, that one was a lot less dramatic. But yeah, they pop off. They don't vent. They're not designed to vent. They don't have vent holes. I mean, they don't have the weakness in the casing to allow them to vent. I guess we could do a bigger one. Like we have this one over here by the power connectors. But I don't have the board set up for that right now, or the camera set up for that. Yeah. There we go. Let's get that a bit more centered. Please don't shoot at the camera. Grab the hot air again. Hopefully this one goes... I mean, it's bigger, so maybe it'll blow up bigger. I don't think it'll blow up any faster, though. I should have taken the nozzle off. I can't believe I'm doing this. Why does the hot air keep freaking out like that? I'm gonna have to look up what that error means. Because... it's so weird. Okay. Now, this is on the high voltage side, so this might go a bit faster, because that usually doesn't have as much copper to it. Or at least I'm hoping for that, because... yeah, standing here, cooking capacitors, not exactly fun. Okay, this one's puffing up, I think. Yeah, the top casing is getting curved. Probably about to go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's... this one's definitely getting rounder around the top. I think it's starting to inch off the board. Yep, it's lifting. Oh, this one desoldered. Cool. Neat. I mean, it's... oh yeah, it literally just desoldered itself. I mean, not itself, but... okay. But it's curved. So... yeah, so I'll just show you that... it's not really that bulged out. Or I was hoping to try show you that... like, the seal is bulged out. But it really isn't that much. But the top of it is definitely less flat than it used to be. So, but I gotta say, I'm surprised. Yeah, like, this is very curved. Oh boy, it's making... I think it's making cracking sounds. So, yeah, evidently... so the difference here is that there's a lot less copper for the high voltage side of the board. And the reason there's a lot less copper is just there's less current flowing through this, right? So, we actually desoldered the capacitor from the board before we cooked the internals enough to get them to pop. So, yeah, I was not expecting that, because usually my experience with trying to intentionally desolder polymer capacitors is that it does not tend to go very well. Yeah, this one's not, like, I wouldn't try to use this again. This is probably completely, like, it's curved. Oh, I just dropped it. Oh, well. So yeah, like that one has a very noticeable curve to the casing now. So it was expanding internally, and yeah, it doesn't have vents. So I imagine with that one, if we kept cooking it, eventually the bottom would blow out. But that's what I meant by capacitors shooting off of the board if you hit them with the hot air by accident for too long. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to roast any more capacitors because, quite frankly, I don't want to. But yeah, so that's what I meant by capacitors popping off. Because, yeah, like if you have this style of capacitor which has vents in it, those will vent, right? Like if they're designed, like, and these are liquid electrolyte, so they have vents. I believe the ones in these pictures over here, these might be hybrid. I'm not sure. I don't usually I don't really pay much attention to liquid electrolyte based capacitors or even hybrid capacitors because you just don't see them on motherboards or GPUs. Um, but those evidently have vents because we have the same like pattern on both of these. But like these don't have vents, right? This is just like a random crack in the casing, which we evidently haven't managed to replicate that. So yeah, because both like the two of mine that didn't get desoldered, like they both popped off. One of them quite spectacularly, and the other one less so. Um, and so yeah, that's it. Capacitors. If this isn't realistic, but it's not meant to be realistic, right? Like my reference to this was that like yeah, if when desoldering MOSFETs sometimes you cook a nearby capacitor and it goes flying off the board and into your face if you're very unlucky. Um, so, yeah, you know what? I might go pick up that casing. It's probably cooled down enough, and we'll take a look at what that looks like because I imagine it should just be hollow. Um, so we'll switch back to this camera. Actually, there should be one casing somewhere on the desk. Where'd that go? Oh, found it. Yep. Oh yeah, it's just completely empty. Just a little metal cylinder. So here it is. Oh. Yeah. So that is capacitor with no internals. Also, you can see how this one's also very curved. Right? Like it should not be throwing reflections like that. So this is very curved. So it first swells up, and then if you keep cooking it, eventually it just pops off. Because, yeah, there's no vents. Yep. I mean, now that I can see inside of it, I can, like, if there was vent marks internally, I can't see any. Because there aren't any. Because, yeah, these are not designed to vent. Anyway, so hopefully, that proves my point. Don't cook capacitors with the hot air. They will shoot off the board and maybe hit you in the face. And that'll suck because if you cook the capacitor enough that it shoots off like this, it'll be very, very hot when it shoots off. So, yeah. Anyway, hopefully you found that interesting, and maybe even useful that, you should not cook capacitors. I don't know why you'd actually need that demonstrated, but sure. Yeah. So thanks for watching, I guess. I am quite shaken. That first one got me. Like, I didn't think it would just go like that. Anyway, if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description. You could check those out. That would be very much appreciated. And, yeah, that's it for the video. So, thanks for watching, and goodbye.